All right, we're live. Back at it again. LaCroix. Got my plain LaCroix. The best flavor of LaCroix by far. All right. What's up, Micah? Gonna take a look at this M and N today, but do a quick little warm up. My pencil. What's up, Vaughn? I'm gonna do bunny seeing you two here. Thanks for joining. I'm going to do a little warm up with this. Just kind of feeling that over motion, which obviously we're going to be using with the M and the N. Spread it out a little bit. Trying to find a good position, relax, find my grip. Feeling this arc out. I've been playing around with my warm-ups a lot more lately. Really trying to just learn as much as I can about where the uncomfortable places, what the uncomfortable movements are for me. Like I've been thinking like I know like a L, I know how uncomfortable an L shape feels to me, and I'm trying to figure out why, like, why is there tension in certain parts of this L? So I'll just kind of go around it. Try to feel it out. I want to get my ballpoint pen out. You can actually see what I'm doing. Some ink will come out of it. Dry. There we go. Just kind of working my way up to doing some push-pulls. At this height, this is a 5/8 of an inch. Just feeling my arm. Feeling that transition from this kind of rocking forearm hinge movement to that upper arm as I get to the top line here. Feel that upper arm kind of extend the arm up and move into that more dominated upper arm movement. Kind of notice how much something I need to work on, something really fundamental I need to work on, is this transition from this rocking motion, this entry motion, to a downstroke. I want to pull it, I'll do it dark here, I want to pull it in. When I come down, I want to pull in back down on the entry stroke line, or at least towards it. I obviously want to get away from that and just have this nice smooth transition to this downstroke on slant. That was a little wobbly. I should get my pen out. My point. Croy. Yeah, I think there's some things that just the naturally most arms don't want to do. There's things that come very naturally. I don't know, I'd have to talk to more people about it and let me know what you think about this, but it seems like the arm has a lot more control going laterally like this when you're using this forearm hinge. I think it's obviously because you're moving the point of control closer to the pen point, because the point of the control is really at the elbow hinge, whereas opposed when you're doing let's say a push-pull, the point of the control really kind of moves up, more up to the upper arm, which is further away from the pen point. And it's also a larger muscle group. Maybe, I don't know how that really works. I'm trying to think about this whole like hinge thing, like what muscles are actually controlling that movement. And I think it is the upper arm, but it's like kind of a different muscles in the upper arm than what controls the up-down movement, like the pure up-down movement. That's like more of a shoulder kind of, maybe even back, whereas the hinge is more of like this lower part of your upper arm. Because this is so easy, and I can make nice smooth strokes doing this, whereas that transition, then transitioning into that different type of movement, it's still difficult. It's not quite as natural. Just trying to explore like how the hell do you teach your arm to be really comfortable with that movement. We'll see. Alright, let me get my pen out. Let me turn the heat down. My fancy Nest thermostat. Done. Croy. Alright. Ink. Got some Higgins. Eternal Black. Now I'm going to put my hand there. As much as I do want to put my hand here because I think this is the best position for writing, but not the best position for streaming. Doing some big eyes here, just feeling that transition. Feels pretty good. I'm gonna do some indirect ovals, and then we're gonna take a look. I'm gonna do a few warm-ups directly related to the M movement, and then we'll take a look at this form a little closer. So indirect ovals is obviously a good one because with the M, you're going over that way. So I'm good. Feel pretty good today. Let's see if that translates to the forms. Just noticing that my pen's picking up in a few spots. Which just means I'm not really totally relaxed yet. A little, I don't know, reticent. No pen lifts there. Sometimes you just have to notice something. You don't need to do anything. You don't need to intervene, consciously try to do something. Just say, oh, I noticed I was picking my pen up when I did these ovals. Then I didn't really try to do anything. I did another set of ovals, and I didn't pick the pen up once. So just little things like that. Just let them happen. Notice. Just notice. Alright, now some more M warm-ups, similar to what I was just doing. I did the kind of retraced ovals, then I did these separated ovals. Now I'm going to separate them even more, make them more vertical, less of an oval shape. So then I'm going to transition them into the actual M strokes. Few more of these. All right, now I'm just going to do some smaller kind of M movements. Alright, now I want to take a closer look at this form. Study your form, study your forms. Gotta study your forms. Now I've drawn it once here, and it's pretty good. I'm looking at, I also have the champion method exemplar here, which I'm looking at as well in the background. Definitely have your exemplar out. You cannot succeed without it. But I'm going to try to draw this again on my paper, nice and big. See what I can learn about the letter. I'm going to sketch it. I'm not going to do this with arm movement. Just going to sketch it as best as I can. Nice even turns. This is not a difficult letter to sketch because it is so symmetric. Well, repeats a pattern. You know, you want these, as far as I can tell from the letter, take a closer, it's kind of hard to tell from Champions too, because Champions is not exactly perfect penmanship. It's very good. Maybe not the best exemplar choice, but it's what I have right here available. So, but yeah, I mean, as far as I can tell from all the study I've done of this letter, it has 3 equal humps here, and then this third one's a little different because it goes to an exit stroke. But these first 2 strokes you want them to be exactly identical, which I think is pretty obvious. And then the third one's basically identical up into a point. So identical in terms of height, you know, baseline and height, width. So this width here. Identical in terms of slant. And then this width here, so you know, we have these 4 points. We want a nice tight turn here. Just want an exit that goes all the way to the top. And I think Zahner's manual is great. I think having some, you know, these 2 strokes, this exit stroke and this entry stroke, should kind of form like a, you know, like I could put it over here and it would come right up here. I don't know if that's really 100% true. Paper cut. I think you do kind of want that. I'm not sure. I think that would look nice. Use your eraser when you do this too. Fix your I do a lot of erasing when I'm drawing these letters. I'm trying to make them perfect. Yeah, let me get Zahner's out. Why not get the best? Oh yeah, this is great. Glad you mentioned that, and I'm glad I had it right there. I assume you're talking about the arm movement method of rapid writing, and this is the exemplar from that. Yeah, this is a great M. I mean, and this is a perfect M. I love the writing in this. It's very round. It's not super angular. It's very wide and round. Very practical in that sense. Oh, this is great stuff. Alright. I'm looking at this too now. I don't think mine's going to be as round as that, but that's okay. That's the thing about penmanship, or even business penmanship. There's a standard style, but you make your letters narrow. I mean, it's just about consistency of style. If you want that roundness, width to your letters, just use it everywhere. Pretty happy with this drawing, though. Yeah, looks pretty good. I'm just going to erase this little line I made. I maybe would want these to be a little rounder, like that. They look pretty symmetrical to me. I mean, don't be afraid to get your ruler out. Use the right side of the ruler though. All right. So we have about a ½ inch there. And then we have a little more, so this one's a little wider. That one's a little wider. So this entry stroke is a little shorter than the other two, but it's very close. Close enough. Oh, my head got in the way. All right. Now I'm just going to trace this over with my pen a little bit and just kind of see what I feel with it. Feeling a lot of forearm hinge here. This is kind of the opposite of the eye stroke. Yeah, his slant is more upright. I've noticed that. But yeah, this is kind of the opposite of the eye stroke in the entry to the eye, the underturn. And it's good to see how these relate. You know, you have an underturn. It's that forearm movement down here into the upper arm movement at the top. The overturn, it kind of uses the upper arm movement to lift you off, to push you off, and then it transitions into the forearm movement towards the top. And then of course it has this turn at the top, which goes back to upper arm movement. It's good to feel these things. It's like, you know, something I've realized, there's a lot of things I don't like about my handwriting, my script, and there's a lot of things I don't know about script. Like, if I knew everything there was to know about it, then I'd be able to solve those problems. Maybe it would take a little bit of hard work, a little bit of practice, but if I knew exactly what the problem was and why I wasn't able to execute something on a consistent basis, if I knew exactly why, then I'd be able to solve that problem. Unless the problem is just unsolvable. Maybe you have some type of physical issue or something, but assuming you don't, you know, it's just a matter of figuring out what the problem is. You know, it's like, where do you struggle? And I've kind of realized like how much control I need to build up into my upper arm. And I think that might be one of the key components that kind of separates the amazing penman of today. I'm talking about movement writing, obviously. The amazing ornamental and business penman of today, and the masters of the past, with all of us that are trying to figure it out. They have amazing upper arm control. Also just kind of feeling how this changes as I move to the right. Obviously I'm not going to write the letter this big in normal writing, but it is interesting. This is kind of an exaggerated movement that I'm making for this form, so I kind of get to zoom in on maybe some things that I wouldn't notice if I was doing it at a small size. And one thing you might not notice is how the movement subtly changes as you move across the letter. Like, you know, you're gonna make an M in one stroke. If you're doing business penmanship, you're not gonna stop and move the paper and finish it. I mean, if you want to, that's fine, but that's probably not something you're gonna do. You don't need to do it. But so as you move across the letter, the space of where the motion is happening is moving to the right, and that kind of changes the anatomy of, you know, the physics, the mechanics of what you're doing, just ever so slightly. And when you're doing it this big, it kind of expands that, multiplies that factor. So I'm feeling as I move across the right, pulling these downstrokes is a little bit harder. As I'm getting to the limits of my writing zone, I want to pull them into the left more. Vaughn asks, I don't know if you answered this, what age did you begin this methodical study? I started studying business penmanship in general around September, October 2016. I was, you know, probably until I had the good fortune of taking Marcus Carlini's class at IAMPITH in 2017, which was, I think, August that year. I really had no idea how to practice this in any kind of methodical way. I was going through all the books very quickly. I was just looking at the copy and trying to reproduce it and not seeing a whole lot of progress. I mean, I definitely like achieved like that first big hurdle, which is like just getting comfortable writing with your arm and the grip changes and all that. But I had no real conception of how the writing engine works, or how you can kind of break down a letter and really study it closely. So I wouldn't say, and then, I mean, even after I took that class with Marcus and kind of learned from him, my practice still wasn't really all that methodical. Getting to know Michael Gebhardt a little bit and working with him and seeing what he does and reading his posts and his videos definitely sent me in a better direction, for sure. But yeah, I feel like really recently, like in the past few months, the past couple months, I've kind of taken even closer look at these forms and the movement and really trying to figure out what the hell's going on. So yeah, 2016 is when I started. All right, let's make some big ones with our pen here. See what I'm doing differently here. I am seeing this kind of creep in this way instead of coming down straight. Seeing that here too. Seeing it here. So like, as I go to the right, I'm pulling it more and more this way. Which I think that's probably something that's going to be an issue on a very micro level. I might not even notice it at a small level. But because I'm doing this so big, I am seeing it. All right. Let's try some smaller ones. Actually, I'll just turn this paper over. See you, Micah. Get some sleep. I don't know how much longer I'm going to go. I think you've got my thoughts here. Showing you the real, I think the important stuff. Everything after this is really just putting pen to paper and figuring out what's going on. But I'll do a little more. I'm gonna make it a little smaller. So another thing I'm noticing, the tops, those could have a tendency to be a little jagged. So that transition, this little area right here, that can be an area where I maybe tense up. Try something here. So I'm trying to just a little experiment with slowing the rhythm down dramatically at the top. Just kind of exaggerating that turn. Trying to spend some more time in the turn, I guess, is what I'm trying to do. Just to get comfortable there. I don't want to do it like that. I don't think that's really the right rhythm for this letter. Although you can do it like that. It's going to make your M's more angular. I think it's more I want to do it like this. They already feel smoother. I'm going to try connecting some M's, and that's going to really screw things up here, but let's work on that. So I can see the first M is pretty good. Not perfect, but it's good. And then this next one has a real sharp top there. So there's something about coming out of that last M, doing this, you know, compound curve move that's causing me to have a problem. Try it again. Not really sure what's going on there. And I think that's important when you realize, like, oh, I don't know. I don't know why that one came out like that. Maybe it was just because it was the first one I did. Now they were much smoother after that and more even. But whenever you have that, those are really, really good points in your practice when you don't know what's going on, because that means that now you at least you're like remembering. You're not remembering. You're realizing. You're noticing that, like, oh, something's wrong here, and I need to figure out what the problem is. Is there any value to auditory cues to you in terms of rhythm? I think I listen to auditory cues. I think yes, for sure. I don't know exactly what they are, but I would definitely not discount them, because I think so much of learning happens at a subconscious level, and the little cues that you get from, like, maybe a sound that your pen makes. Obviously, if you're using a pointed pen, it makes a big difference because you can actually hear it. But I definitely, like, consciously listen to my pen when I'm doing ovals, when I'm warming up. God, this light is just washing me out here. I gotta figure out a better lighting setup here. So yeah, when I'm doing ovals, I'm trying to hear the pen to kind of figure out where the heavy points are. And it helps a lot to use a pen that's not so thick like this one. You know, a fine point pen like a Hunt 101 or something. Other problem, keep asking questions. I'll keep working on these M's, but if you have any other questions, I'm happy to answer those. Another problem with the M, which I have with every letter, is just these entry strokes being too long. So I, have the tendency to want to do that. Which for some reason doesn't look good. The question was asking specifically about letter forms. I mean, I don't know. It's hard. it's really hard to answer. I just don't know. I mean, I can definitely hear it when maybe I make a sudden movement, you know, that is, you know, isn't graceful, but I'm not really sure what type of cues. There's that entry stroke. Too long. See how long that is compared to that? No. Now, for some reason, the N is a harder letter than the M. I don't know why. It's not as many moves, but it's just harder. So you just have less time to prepare for that exit stroke, and it affects the letter. Definitely having a not sure what's going on kind of moment. But something to work on. Yeah. You can definitely learn a lot from how something sounds. I mean, you can tell if somebody has a real even rhythm in their writing, or if it's a more jagged, kind of fast, slow rhythm. See, what I want to do with this letter is I want to extend, not that I want to, but what my body wants me to do is do a real long entry stroke and then do a normal. So I really need to train that out in my arm. More tapping. Yeah, those are good observations. It'd be interesting to hear different recordings of people writing and seeing if you could tell which ones. You know, you have like 3 samples, and you have, you know, 3 samples of writing and 3 samples of the sound of it being written. and then try to guess, you know, which sound matches which one. I would bet you would hear. I would almost guarantee you could really hear the difference between, you know, a top quality penman versus somebody just starting out. Alright, I think I'm going to shut it down. Try to keep these to a decent length so people aren't scared away from watching them. Thanks for the questions, Vaughn. I'm sure we'll be in touch. And thanks everybody else for watching. If you got this far, really do appreciate it. Subscribe, like, all that stuff. Much appreciated. So, have a good one. Thank you.